The last thing that Jesus did before he ascended to heaven was to get the disciples together and tell them, go into all the world and tell the world the good news, make disciples of all the nations. It's something that we're actually called to do. It's called the Great Commission, but oftentimes it's the Great Omission because we so quickly forget about it. And we have to remind ourselves to raise in our hearts and in our minds the passion and the value for reaching the lost, for reaching the world, both here locally, our neighbors right across the street, and our neighbors across the nations on the other side of the world. We're called to pray, we're called to give, and we're called to go. That's the kind of the phrase that we use during missions season. And for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be focusing on missions, on this reminder that Jesus has actually called you and I, every single disciple, to be engaged in this thing called the Great Commission. We're not excused from this. There's nobody that gets an out on this, a pass on this. We're all invested. We're supposed to be invested in this. So we have to raise the value in our own hearts of missions and of loving the world. So we want to invite you, would you pray during this season to ask God to stir your heart? Pray for missionaries, pray for the church globally, pray for those who need to go and those who are part of the harvest. Would you give? We're certainly going to invite you to pledge practically at the end of this season that you would commit yourself monthly to give to missions. There's no better way for us to send our heart to the world than to send our cash to the world. That's what Jesus said, Bowie. When we're invested financially, we're invested passionately. And so we're going to give you an opportunity to do that. And we want to invite you to go. Go can happen across the street in service. Go to our neighbor and tell them about the good news. Go on a short-term mission trip, go in a service opportunity, go perhaps on the field for a longer period of time. There's many ways that Jesus calls us to go, and don't excuse yourself from that. So would you please, during this season, would you pray that God would stir our hearts? Would you pray that he would open us for the way that he feels about the world, for the desperate passion that he has, that every single person on the planet would hear the good news of Jesus? During the season, we've prepared a number of different pieces that would help you understand what's going on and hopefully raise that temperature for passion for discipleship in the world in your heart. There's a calendar we want you to pick up and use as a prayer guide. There's a Reach newsletter that gives you all the updates from the missions that we support both locally and globally. And of course, there's a pledge card that's gonna be the way that you're gonna indicate how you're gonna commit yourself to be in support of missions during this season. Koinonia, I just wanna invite you, let's not miss this opportunity for how God is gonna stir our hearts. Let's not miss this opportunity to say, Lord, how do you want me to pray? How do you want me to give? And how do you want me to go?